Heroes and Legends, Generations 4, The Holy War, Episode 24. Naqvi was pissed. His forces were losing against the combined might of the Builderon, Elder, and Judean forces. Furious, he decided that now was the time for him to step into the picture. He unleashed his full might and power upon the entire dimensions, revealing his trump cards, as he had more cards up his sleeve than anyone could ever imagine. This way, the Allied forces' morale and troop numbers would be greatly diminished. Elsewhere, Kilgore was advancing with the Batelica forces and the elite forces led by the new Batelica leader, Tonika Batel and Baha Batel. They were now determined, now that Kilgore was fully ready for battle, to use Kilgore's mighty force to race and to march on to the Toyo dynasty and completely obliterate it in the sea of crimson flame. There, they knew that was the new Orishian headquarters. It would be the Batelica that would lead victory in this war. The Batelica forces were very excited as the newcomers rejoiced at this prospect. Marcy was teasing Wei about not doing enough during the war. Wei clapped back and said Marcy didn't do much herself. Cyberpunk then quieted both of them down, as war had to be organized. No one person could join every single battle. That's why you have multiple different allies and troops to fight at different fronts. If all persons were to join in every single battle, fatigue will outdo and beat us first before our enemies. The two of them nodded and said they agreed. Sekaindo, the leader of the Bashar Batelican, and Tobias, the leader of the tank unit, also marched together. They were old and they had been with the Batelican and the Builderon Empire since the very beginning. Now they saw this war was climaxing. Tobias looked forward to a nice, quiet retirement, but Sekaindo still wished her fallen comrades were still with her during this time. They both reflected on the great leadership of Bepho, and wished that Bepho was leading them to victory. However, the new generation is just as capable. Then suddenly, without warning, as the Batelican forces got closer towards the Orishian border, Kilgore suddenly stopped in his tracks. The allies were stunned. Tonika and Baha went in front of Kilgore, demanding that he move, and they were determined to end this war themselves and wondered what was happening. Then suddenly, Kilgore wished his giant hand at the two Batelican leaders, blowing them away and knocking them out. Stunned, the Allied forces were stunned. They couldn't believe what was going on. Suddenly, Kilgore's eyes turned bright red, and then suddenly he saw Eleazer attacking the Golden Men and the Silver Forces and the artillery of the Batelican. Within an instant, the army was cut down in half. Fearing the worst, the leaders began to fight back against Kilgore. Kilgore was on a rampage. They did not know why. If they didn't saw Kilgore here, then all of them would be dead. So Tobias fired his tanks, and Sekaindo used her swordplay, and Mercy, along with Wei and Cyberpunk, raced towards Kilgore to put down the evil monster. Kilgore was strong, as everyone knew that he was. Still, they were determined to put an end to this monster, as Kilgore continued to obliterate the Batelican forces. Soon, only the main troops, the personal troops, of the heroes remained. The entire Batelican force was completely wiped out by Kilgore, and Kilgore was going to finish the officers. However, Cyberpunk, with this data, had activated nanobites that helped to speed up Kilgore's healing process from his last battle against Damien II, and activated those nanobites to attack Kilgore internally. While Kilgore was internally in pain, Wei and Marcy went for an attack and started to bring the monster down to his knees. Then Tobias kinda blasted Kilgore face by his face. And then, at the end of the day, all the Batelica officers combined their might to defeat the giant monster, which finally killed it. Then Tonika and Baha had woken, and they saw the devastation and carnage. The Batelica was finished. They could not continue their march. And as they examined closer, they realized that Kilgore's origins were truly Rishian, and Tonika and Baha realized that their former slave master's plan was to awaken Kilgore to fight for the Rishians. And if Kilgore was secretly an Rishian, that means by default Naqvi was his leader. And using Kilgore against the Rishians was one thing that would trigger this devastating attack. So Kilgore was only used to wipe us or wipe each other out as long as we didn't attack a Rishian, said Tobias, shaking his head, stunned that so many of their men were dead. Tonika apologized for her failings, but the others comforted her, knowing that no one could have saw this coming. And so Batelica retreated back to the main builder unit, hoping for another opportunity to attack the Rishians. Elsewhere, Eleazer Jian and his fellow elder forces. Those elder forces were of the elite guard or descendants of the angels that were responsible for forming the dimensions into what it is today, a fierce battleground, all marching with him as they march to an Rishian position to attack it. However, Naqvi activated his power and took control of all these elder forces. Without warning, they began to attack Eleazer. Eleazer then used his mighty sword to cut down a few of them. And they realized that all of them were under Naqvi's control. If he did not do something about these fools now, then they could easily access to the Holy Land and cause major damage to their forces. So Eleazer had no choice but cut down his long held allies since the very beginning. He used his mighty sword to swing left and right against the onslaught of bows and arrows and blasters and swords. Eleazer Jian showed no mercy to his forces, and he managed to slay them all and protect the Holy Land. However, the surprise attack greatly injured him, and he looked at the sky one last time, repenting of his sins before he had succumbed, and his spirit was now free to go up into paradise. Elsewhere, the original Union forces, led by Kibana, were advancing towards another Rishian outpost, where they were suddenly attacked by Lord Baumusu. Kibana was stunned that this powerful man was now before them, determined to wipe all of them out. Kibana knew that if her father was alive, he would relish at this opportunity to fight such a brave warrior. But now her father was gone, and the Union were on their own. Kibana, Emi, Kenva, and all the heroes and leaders of the Union teamed up against Lord Baumusu. Baumusu was genetically enhanced, his strength, his body, and his abilities by the fierce Dr. Shenzhen, who had successfully escaped thanks to the help of the Allied forces. Now the Oricians were beginning their counterattack, and it's clear to see their main targets were determined to defend their homelands and leadership and their people against this brutal monster. All the heroes and leaders of the Union combined their forces together to try to tackle Lord Baumusu. Baumusu's might and strength, and fierce lightning and thunder was too much for most to handle, and most of them lay on the ground defeated. Only Kibana was left standing. Kibana then summoned courage and raced toward the enemy. And as she raced, she unlocked her true powers. She herself had unlocked her ultimate prime power, was able to jump high up in the air and give a nice knuckle sandwich to Lord Baumusu, who coughed up blood and collapsed on the ground. Baumusu could not believe it. This little girl had given him such a hard time. He then moved to fight again, but Kibana held her own. She dodged his attacks, was able to give him decisive blows to the gut and on the chin. Lord Baumusu refused to be defeated solely by this little girl, and so he decided to flee back to Dr. Levon Shenzhen to become even more stronger. By the skin of their teeth, the Yudian survived, and Kibana's power and might grew exponentially. However, the damage was done. The Pildaran, the Elders, and the Yudian all suffered casualties by the snap of the fingers of Naqvi. It was evident by attacking the Irishans, peace would not work. One final clash needed to happen to eradicate Naqvi and the Irishian forces underneath him once and for all.